What's up, everyone? What's happening? Okay, so according to the Daily News, there was another anti-Semitic attack here in New York City, in Brooklyn. Matter of fact, an Hasidic man was attacked. Luckily, nobody was injured or killed. They wrote a paper, and I'm going to go right to reading the article to you in a second. First, please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell. Help me grow my channel if you don't mind. Let me get to the article. So, Orthodox man sucker punched on Brooklyn Street in latest hate crime to hit borough's Jewish community. Let me get down to the article. That is not the video. The video won't play for me, by the way. For some strange reason, it's giving me trouble. A hate-filled brute ran up and slapped an Orthodox man on a Brooklyn street, knocking the victim's hat and yarmulke off his head in the latest anti-Semitic hate crime to hit the city, officials said Wednesday. The Tuesday evening attack was caught on surveillance camera footage acquired by the Daily News. The 39-year-old victim was nearing the corner of Rodney Street and Marcy Avenue in Williamsburg when a teen sporting a gray sweatshirt and black backpack ran up and walloped him in the face about 7 p.m. on Tuesday. The victim lurched forward, his hat and yarmulke falling off as the attacker ran off. The 24-second clip shows the victim scrambling to pick up his headgear and give chase. Police said no words were exchanged between the two men. Cops are still looking for the assailant. The NYPD Hate Crime Task Force is investigating the incident. As of last week, cops were fighting a 67% increase in hate crimes so far this year. By the end of April, 145 hate crimes were reported to police compared to 87 during the corresponding period last year. The majority of hate crimes reported to police were anti-Semitic, which saw an 82% jump from 45 last year to 82 this year. So there you have it. Anti-Semitism is on the rise. I've done a few videos about this. Mainly is happening in New York, New Jersey, and California. Some of the most liberal states. I can't believe that there's hate crimes happening in the liberal cities. Now, I don't know much about California and New Jersey, who's responsible, but most of the anti-Semitic attacks are happening in the country are happening here in Brooklyn. There's also, there's a growing number of them in the other two states, and also on college campuses, there's a lot of anti-Semitic incidences that do occur. They have seen a rise in that. But Brooklyn has the most, being that we have the largest Jewish community here in New York City. We have three neighborhoods with a lot of Jewish people. You have Crown Heights, you have Borough Park, and you have Williamsburg. These are the three neighborhoods that contain the most Jewish people. And they've been seeing a rise in these crimes. Now, they've reported that there was 142 hate crimes total. 82 of them were anti-Semitic. So majority of these hate crimes are happening against Jewish people. The funny thing I think about all of this is when you read the article, they gave a description of what the guy was wearing. They said he was wearing, he had a sweater on. He had a gray sweater with a black backpack. But they didn't mention that the guy was black. Now, if you watch the video, it won't play for me. It's giving me a hard time, but I have watched the video. You can clearly watch the video. I'm not making this up. It is a black person who committed the attack, as usual, against Jewish people here in the city in Brooklyn. Most of the attacks are coming from young black men. Some from Hispanic men, and there was a handful from Middle Eastern-looking men. But ultimately, it's majority black men committing these attacks. Now, this doesn't speak for the entire black community. The whole black community is not committing these attacks. It's a handful of idiots in the community that think that either are doing this because they think it's funny, or they're doing it because they really have a hatred towards Jews. But it's funny how the bias with the liberals, they won't mention that. They don't speak about skin color. They don't give a racial description of who's committing these attacks. They just say that these attacks are happening, and that's it. Now, according to the New York Times, not only is anti-Semitic attacks on the rise, but the suspects in these cases, at least here in New York City, are never a white person. It's never a white supremacist, a Trump supporter, a white nationalist, a conservative, a Republican. It's never any of that that's responsible for these attacks. So, you talk about, they talk about Nazis all the time. Oh, the Nazis are coming, Here I am, if anyone would have real fear of Nazis, it would be Jews. And here I am living in a community, well, not in the community, but living in the same borough as the largest population of Jews outside of Israel, right here in New York City. And it's like, I'm not afraid of Nazis. No, why should I be? Most of the people attacking us are black. Why would I be afraid of Nazis? I should be more afraid of black people. They're the ones doing the assaults against us right now. Me personally, I'm not afraid of anyone. I'm not worried about anyone assaulting me. I can handle myself. But the other Jews who are not street guys or not fighters, and they just they'll get attacked and they won't even defend themselves. They'll run off or look for for safety. Why should they be afraid? Why should the Jewish community here in New York City be afraid of Nazis? That's not the clear and present danger for them. It's the other people around them. It's the handful of black people, Hispanic and Middle Eastern men that are committing these crimes here in New York City. They're the ones that they're afraid of. So what happens now? They walk down the street. They don't know which black kid. They'll see young black men all over and not know which one of them are the ones that's going to assault them. They have no idea. Now they're just fearful. They're just afraid of all of them. They're just going to, either they're going to assume they're all, going to attack them, or they're just not going to feel comfortable because they don't know which one is going to commit that act, right? Most of them won't. But, when you're the one on the receiving end, of violence or something from a particular group, you're now you can now have anxiety based on the whole group. Now you don't want to be near none of them. You don't know which one of them is going to be that one that's going to assault you. But the liberals, they don't talk about this in their newspapers. In the news, they don't mention the skin color of the individuals attacking, committing these anti-Semitic attacks. According to the NYPD, this is another one. They also put out a report, and in that report, when you just read the amount of complaints and the investigations and who was arrested and who they were looking for and descriptions of suspects and stuff like that they've put out. And it was interesting because the New York Times linked to the NYPD, linked to their studies and their statistics that was put out. So you were able, when I read the article, I was able to read both. And according to the NYPD, it's never a white person that is being sought after for these attacks or even under investigation. It's just not. So when you read something like that, you kind of say to yourself, why don't the liberals speak about who is committing these attacks? At least give a description of the person's race. They don't, because of their biasy. You see, the people who are doing these attacks, they identify with the left. They're within a particular group that's protected by the left, or that's in bed with the left, or that is the left. So they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to mention the person's race. They don't want to do any of that. They don't want to shed a negative light on anyone who looks like them or looks like a member of a group that would be on the left. If it was a white person who attacked this Hasidic Jewish man, it would have said all over the paper, wow, white nationalist, white supremacist attacks Jewish guy. It would have said that because it always does. It always says a white guy did this and a white guy did that. They always, whenever a white person's involved, they always talk about the race. Now they want to talk about a rise of hate crimes. I would love to see the statistics and show you how most of the suspects in any of the hate crimes that happen here in New York City are not caused by white people. It's just what did they say? There was 142. I'm willing to bet that there's an extreme low amount of white people responsible for any of the hate crime that's at part of that 142. I'm willing to bet any amount of money that I have that it's going to be way less than 10%. In fact, it probably wouldn't even be 1% of those 142 people was a white person committing the attack. Just like I can say, I'm pretty sure that all of those attacks, every single suspect in all of those attacks was a man. Pretty much, right? Yeah, maybe one of them might have been a woman, you know what I mean? But usually it's always a man. I mean, that's the certainty we have with stuff like this. And I'm pretty sure that most of them weren't even white, but you won't hear about it. They won't talk about it. They won't play the race card or play the skin color game with anyone when it's not a white person. Now, when the white guy shot up the New Zealand church not long ago, they had no problem saying white man takes a gun into a mosque and shoots everyone up. They had no problem linking him as a Trump supporter or linking him as a Republican conservative or a white nationalist or a Nazi, a white supremacist, and on and on and on. They had no problem framing all of us as one and the same. Meanwhile, when Islamic terrorists bomb Christian church after Christian church, like what happened in Sri Lanka, they won't even talk about the connection of terrorism and Islam. They don't even want to mention it. Like, I'm debating with people. They're like, no, the Buddhists did it. Right away, they're pointing fingers in a different direction. It's like, no, my man, it wasn't the Buddhists. I'm sorry, it was the Muslims. Let's be real. They just won't use these words. They're finding any way. This is part of their propaganda machine. You know, why won't they just say, you know, that it was a black person? Why won't they give a racial description? Why won't they write the article and say black man assaults a Jewish guy in an anti-Semitic attack? Maybe it wasn't an anti-Semitic attack. Maybe his friends just dared him to do it. Maybe he was playing the knockout game. Maybe the kid has the young man has mental issues. It doesn't necessarily have to be an anti-Semitic attack. Maybe he has no hatred towards Jews, and he did this because he's just a freaking idiot. It's possible. Of course it's possible. But why won't the newspaper at least just say that it was a black person, that it was a young black man that did this? They won't even give you a description. So you see the bias in it. This is not keeping anyone safe. This is not helping anything. This makes matters worse because people read this. If they don't watch the video and if people don't think for themselves, right away the first thing they say when they hear anti-Semitic attacks are on the rise in New York City, and all this talk of Trump and the white nationalists and the Nazis and the white supremacists and all this, and then you hear hate crimes are on the rise, the first thing you're thinking is white people are committing hate crimes in New York. No, they're not. They're almost responsible for zero of the hate crimes in New York City. One of the most liberal places in the country has all these hate crimes happening, and almost none of them are hate crimes caused by a white person. And yet the media won't speak about that. Why? Because this is a form of propaganda for them. They are going to continue to frame white people as the racist, as the hate groups, as all of the negativity, as much negativity as they can throw on white people, while painting all other people on their side as the virtuous ones. Meanwhile, their party truly is the party of hate. They truly are the party of dividing the country. So, before I go, listen, if you are an American Jew, if you're just Jewish and you're in this country, best thing to do right now is to show your strength, show how enough is enough, that the Democrats do not stand for us. You have two open anti-Semites in Congress right now, Congresswoman Tlaib and Congresswoman Omar. You have the rest of them defending them too. They've been having the whole Democratic Party has been having these hug-a-fests with Farrakhan. They absolutely adore him. Anti-Semitism has been growing on the universities. It's been growing in California, New York, New Jersey. The Democrats do not stand with Israel. They hate Israel. The Democrats are the party of hate. They are the party of anti-Semitism. They've been painting the other side as the evil, as Dr. Evil forever. And meanwhile, they're truly the ones that are not only evil, but half the times, if not more, they're the ones responsible for so much of the dirty deeds, while they're continuing to paint the other side as the hate group and as the evils of the world. So if you're Jewish out there, do yourself a favor and Jexit. Yes, Jexit, the Jewish exit of the Democrats. Get out of the Democratic Party, move further right, leave those clowns alone. They're only going to do you're doing yourself a disservice by being on that side and being a part of these lunatics. All right, people, I'll see you guys on the next video.